Hello everyone and welcome to another random video on the internet. Today we will be continuing the What If Kushina Survived storyline. This is the moment where something I said in part 2 of this series comes into play. There's a lot of stuff in parts 2 to 5 that needs explaining. And there's also some crucial info for part 7 here too. So this video will be a flashback of sorts, but it will provide information for the future parts too. If you are new to this series, then I highly recommend watching parts 1 to 5 first so you can understand the story. And if you've already seen those parts, I recommend watching all the way to the end if you don't want to miss some big plot points. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. Right after the Akatsuki meeting from part 2, 1 month before the Chunin exam finals, Pain, Orochimaru and Madara meet in person to discuss the upcoming invasion. Orochimaru explains that he's going to sneak into the Leaf Village and abduct 2 Uchiha, get one of them to awaken the Mangekyo and then take over their body. Madara advises him to abduct 2 more Uchiha so that he can awaken the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan instead. He explains to Orochimaru what it is and why it would better his chances of destroying Konoha. It's also decided that the Akatsuki will lend Deidara, Sasori, and the Five Tails to aid Orochimaru in his quest to take down Konoha or at least weaken them severely. In exchange for all this intel and help they're giving him, Pain asks Orochimaru for a favor. Around the same time, in a small town far away from Konoha, Tsunade is gambling again. Once she wins the game, a bad sign, the Sannin heads to her hotel room, where Shizune is waiting. When Tsunade enters the apartment, she finds an unexpected visitor waiting. Sitting at the table next to her assistant is a face from the past, albeit grown up now. Konan. Konan greets Tsunade in an outwardly friendly fashion, and the Sannin is shocked to say the least. Didn't she die along with Nagato and Yahiko? Konan motions Tsunade to sit down and explains that rumor is false. As a result of Hanzo's betrayal, Yahiko did die, but Nagato and herself managed to survive. They got into a long and brutal conflict with Hanzo after the incident. They managed to take Hanzo down only recently, thanks to Nagato awakening the Rinnegan. Tsunade then asks why they kept quiet about this for so long. Konan says they were preoccupied with the whole civil war going on and couldn't afford to send any info out of the Rain Country out of fear of it being picked up by any of the great nations. If they knew what was going on, they would have taken the opportunity to intervene and possibly even occupy the Rain Village. Tsunade nods, understanding the need to keep such a conflict hidden from enemy nations, including the Fire Country. The Sannin then asks Konan if she appeared before her now just to inform her about this. If so, why not go to Jiraiya instead? Konan says that she didn't come here just to inform Tsunade and that Nagato doesn't want Jiraiya to see his current state. During the fighting, Nagato suffered severe injuries and is now crippled for life. Or at least, he'll be crippled if nothing is done to help him. Konan asks Tsunade to heal Nagato. When she does that, Nagato and Konan can head to meet Jiraiya for the first time in years. After thinking the request over and seeing no real threat or anything like that, Tsunade agrees to go to Nagato and see what she can do. Once there, Tsunade sees a prospering Rain Village. The people look genuinely happy. She takes note of this, given that in the olden days the Rain Village morale was especially low because of the war. Finally, Tsunade arrives at the main tower, where she meets Nagato. She gasps upon seeing his condition and says that she isn't sure how much she can help with injuries like these. That's when Nagato explains that she won't be working alone. There's another capable doctor they have in the Rain Village. However, he's a former supporter of Danzo and only turned to Nagato's side when the war became unwinnable for Hanzo, so he can't be trusted. Nagato asks Tsunade to keep a close eye on every movement the doctor makes during the operation and to make sure he doesn't do anything bad to his body. Tsunade agrees. Unbeknownst to Tsunade, the doctor being referred to doesn't exist, and instead she'll be working with a disguised Orochimaru who's stolen a random person's face to conceal his own presence. And so, Tsunade and Orochimaru, two of the greatest healers in the shinobi world, work on healing Nagato's injuries. Now, I need to establish a couple of things. First, why would Nagato and Konan ask Tsunade for help? They didn't ask for her help in the original, so why ask it here? Well, it's simple really, they have help of one of the Sannin, so it would only make sense for them to think about how they can use the other Sannin for their benefit as well. Tsunade is a great healer, the best in the world in fact, and Nagato is in desperate need of healing. Second, it would be in Orochimaru's best interest to tamper with Nagato's body. Give him deliberate weak points, make him weaker, install a shutdown function, whatever. But Tsunade and Konan will be watching his every move carefully, and he does not have the Sharingan yet, so he cannot put them under Genjutsu to make them let him tamper with Nagato. So Orochimaru will not tamper with Nagato in any way. Another question is if Tsunade and Orochimaru working together could heal Nagato. Tsunade seemed to think that Lee's crushed bones were a real challenge to heal for her, so Nagato's trauma, which is definitely way worse than Lee's was, could be above Tsunade's capability. However, with time and Orochimaru on her side, she might be able to figure something out. I also think she might be able to activate her Byakugo seal and extend it over to Nagato just as Sakura did to Obito in the war and heal him that way. We've seen that it's possible for Nagato to heal by taking in massive amounts of chakra, and with Tsunade's Byakugo seal, she has plenty of that. Though Nagato's legs weren't healed when he absorbed Beast Chakra in the original, I'm pretty sure that Tsunade and Orochimaru could figure something out to heal his legs as well. Overall, I do think Tsunade and Orochimaru will succeed in their endeavor here. If not realistically, then at least for the sake of the story. They heal Nagato's legs, his back, and his chakra trauma. Once the operation is done, Nagato examines himself. He puts his hand on his face, no longer feeling only wrinkled skin and bone. He looks at his body, no longer seeing a shriveled up ribcage. Nagato places his feet on the ground and slowly stands up for the first time in many years. He shakes a little, not being used to standing on his own 2 feet, but soon collects himself and takes a step. One small step which signifies a turning point in the history of the shinobi world. It's going to take a bit of time for him to get used to it, but he's healthy now. Nagato Uzumaki is back to full power. Suddenly, Zetsu emerges from the ground and congratulates Nagato on getting his body back. Madara warps into the room as well. Tsunade is obviously very confused and she asks Nagato what's going on guard now. Orochimaru turns to her and smirks, revealing his real face to the kunoichi. Tsunade is stunned, shocked even. She immediately tries to attack him, but before she can, she's put in a genjutsu by Madara. Orochimaru later imprisons her in one of his hideouts, while Konan takes care of Shizune so she doesn't inform anyone about Tsunade's disappearance. Nagato attempts to walk, but with so long having passed, his body has forgotten how to move freely and collapses. Konan catches her friend before he can hit the ground. Seems like they'll need a while to get Nagato accustomed to having his body back. With the favor he owed to Pain done, Orochimaru prepares to go to Konoha. He slips in disguised as a villager at night, alone and undetected. Due to being a former Leaf Ninja, the Yamanaka clan barrier around the village doesn't pick up on his presence, just like it didn't pick up on Itachi when he entered Konoha in the original story. Orochimaru has been spying on Konoha for a long time. In particular, he's monitored the Uchiha clan. The Sannin quietly slips into the homes of 4 young Uchihas. While they're asleep and unable to protect themselves, Orochimaru summons a snake and has it quickly swallow the poor soul. I imagine he'd use something similar to Jiraiya's toad barriers to warp the properties of space, and make the snake much bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. He repeats the process with all 4 of the Uchihas he wants to capture and desummons the snakes for now. With that out of the way, Orochimaru does one last thing. Over the years, he's noticed that the Uchiha clan gathers in one building for all their meetings. That's not unusual for any clan, but what interests Orochimaru specifically is the underground area under that building. We know Kabuto and Orochimaru were aware of the Uchiha stone tablet in the original, but couldn't decipher it thanks to the conversation between Kabuto and Madara in the war. Orochimaru wants to try to use his Sharingan once he gets it to see if he could read the tablet then. He sneaks into the room where the tablet is located and quickly copies the symbols onto a sheet of paper to look at later. After that's done, Orochimaru returns to his hideout and does everything he explained in part 4. After adjusting to his new body and eyes, the Sannin priest Tsunade puts her in a genjutsu and has her heal Kimimaro. Again, the two greatest scientists and healers in the entire world should be able to get the job done. Back with Nagato, he's alone with Konan when she asks him a question. Why did he go through the trouble of convincing Tsunade to heal him when Madara could have just put her under genjutsu and had her heal him without any convincing? It would have saved them some time and effort. Nagato makes sure Zetsu and Madara aren't observing or listening and then speaks. I don't trust Madara. In fact, he's just as unreliable as Orochimaru. We've went along with what he has to say for a while now, and I can tell that our plans differ. Up until now, you and I have not had any opportunity to oppose Madara, but now, having gotten my body back, I feel like I can finally take him down if the opportunity presents itself. In fact, I plan to convince Madara to betray Orochimaru right after the invasion. The two of us will kill that snake, and then, if things go smoothly, I will eliminate Madara as well.